Hello, and welcome to the 13th BrettCast episode, the sort of podcast where I take all of my segments and jam them into one longer video that releases a couple of times a month, maybe more. Starting things off is What's New With, where I have even more Transformers figures that got revealed at SDCC to talk about. After that, it is Transformers Talk, where I'm going to be talking about some of the things that were discussed at SDCC in regards to the possibilities of the future with the Gamer Edition subline in the Studio series. Then it's going to be Movie and TV Talk, where I want to discuss how the CW show Legends of Tomorrow could have been so much more. Finally, I'm going to end things with Gaming Talk, where I am finally going to be giving my full thoughts on the game Warframe. With that out of the way, let's get into it. Hello, and welcome to the What's New With segment. In this segment, I'm going to be talking about even more Transformer figures that got revealed at SDCC. So let's get into this. Starting things off here is the Legacy Evolution Leader Class G2 Universe Grimlock. As with the other G2 Universe figures I talked about in my last one, I think that Grimlock here looks absolutely horrible. I don't know who thought that yellow, cyan, pink, and silver go together, but they don't, and this is another eyesore like the others are. This has a release of August 25th, 2023, with a price of $54.99. After that is the Legacy Evolution Deluxe Class Detrius. I'm sorry, but who even is this guy? I've honestly never heard of this character before, and I honestly wish I had not, because this looks ugly. What even are those colors? It's like brown, tan, and gold? It's just really bad looking to me. This has a release of October 2023 with a price of $25.99. Then we have the Legacy Evolution RID 2015 Universe Deluxe Class Strong Arm. I'm sure a lot of people are going to disagree with my opinion here, but I actually like this one. I do feel like it's about time that RID 2015 started getting some love in the Legacy Evolution line. I do know that this is a repaint and remold of the Elita 1 mold, and I honestly think it works for Strong Arm. If I do manage to find one of these, I may just pick it up. This has a release date of October 2023 and a price of $25.99. After that is the Legacy Evolution Cyberverse Universe Deluxe Class Shadow Striker. This one is one that I am kind of indifferent about. Like, it looks good, but I really never got into Cyberverse, so this is kind of just one that's alright for me. I do like the colors of it, though, and it also is about time that Cyberverse also got some love in Legacy Evolution. I just don't see myself getting this one. This has a release date of October 2023 with a price of $25.99. Then it is the Legacy Evolution Deluxe Class Bombshell. This one looks good, I just have no interest in it like the other Deluxe Class Insecticons. I'm glad they're finishing the trio for those that want the set, but I myself will not be getting it. Has a release of October 2023 with a price of $25.99. After that, it is the Legacy Evolution Voyager Class Comic Universe Bludgeon. I really want to like this one, but Bludgeon is just one of those characters I feel like should have gotten his own unique mold. I do like the Tarn mold, and I wish that I would have gotten a Tarn, but I don't think it works for Bludgeon. Probably not going to be getting this one. If I did, it's only because I missed out on Tarn, but I probably won't. This has a release date of October 2023 with a price of $35.99. Next up is the Legacy Evolution Voyager Class Trash Master. Ooh, I'm kind of all over these random Junkions. For me, this one has never looked good. Wow, it's just so ugly. I don't remember there being this many named Junkions in G1, so I'm inclined to believe that Hasbro is just kind of pulling names out of their butts or something. I'm not going to be getting it, that's for sure. This one has a release date of October 2023 with a price of $35.99. Then we have the Legacy Evolution Prime Universe Leader Class Dreadwing. Finally, Skyquake's brother is coming. And this one I am very much looking forward to. Like, I do wish I could have had both, but, I missed out on Skyquake, but I'm definitely going to try to not miss out on Dreadwing. Yeah, it's a repaint of Skyquake, but that's kind of how the two are in Transformers Prime, so it makes sense. I'm definitely going to try to get my hands on this one. This has a release date of October 2023 with a price of $59.99. Finally, we have the Legacy Evolution Stunticon Menasor Multi-Pack. I feel like I saw this one coming, as typically when they do a combiner, they will do a box set version of them. I think that in this case, it's perfectly fine, because some of these individual bots that make up Menasor, I never saw them in store or online. Like, they were always sold out online. So this kind of gives people the chance to get them all in one shot. Now, I don't know if they will get any sort of redeco, or they will be the same as their individual releases. Though, I'm fairly positive that Muller Master is quite a bit different here. And I don't know if it's for the better. Like, they added more gray to his chest and arms. And I don't know if that's in line, like, more so with his toy look for Motormaster. But, like, his original Legacy release colors, I like them more. And I'm glad I still have that one. I definitely am not going to be buying this one, as it's out of my price range anyway. And I don't plan on getting the rest of the Stunticons at this point, because I just don't really care anymore. This has a release date of September 4th, 2023, with a price of $189.99. And that's going to bring the What's New With segment to a close. Hello, and welcome to the Transformers Talks segment. At San Diego Comic-Con this year, there was a panel in which some questions were asked specifically about the Studio Series Gamer Edition subline. I want to talk specifically about what they said and give my thoughts on what they said. So let's get into it. So what I wanted to do was kind of go over each question and answer, but I feel like I'd be at this all day. Like, this would be like 1 billion hours long if I did that. So the first few things that we've learned here is that Gamer Edition isn't going to just cover the War for Cybertron video game, which I feel like was kind of obvious. Maybe I'm just stupid, but I feel like everyone else is kind of stupid for assuming that it was, just because that's the figures we've gotten so far. Just because they started with character designs from War for Cybertron doesn't mean that the whole line was just going to be for one game. Look at Studio Series in general. It covers the live action movies and the 86 movie, so I think people thinking that Gamer Edition was only going to cover one game was stupid. Like I said, I myself figured that we'd at least get character designs from Fall of Cybertron. Of course, their answer about the Transformers game also makes me a little concerned. This is because they mentioned Devastation, and this concerns me because I don't want Gamer Edition to just become an excuse for Hasbro to make more G1 stuff. That was the whole point of adding, the 86 movie to Studio Series, to get more G1. And they basically said something along the lines of putting cell shading on figures, and people are now going on about how they definitely buy something like a cell shaded Earthrise mold Optimus Prime, and I really hope they don't do that. I really hope they don't use Gamer Edition going forward to just re-release G1 characters with a cell shaded deco from like Earthrise, Legacy, Studio Series 86, and Legacy Evolution, and call that a new figure from the Devastation game. I really don't think that we need that. Another thing we learned is about the state of the Activision Transformers games getting re-released. Now, this is something I would be all for, as War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron getting re-released with working multiplayer would be amazing. However, their response said something about not being able to locate the hard drives with the games on them, which is sad to hear that happen. I suppose. But then Activision kind of came out and they were just like, yeah, no, that wasn't true, and that they do have them. And also mentioned that, doing something like that would be like an easy add on to Game Pass. Now, they didn't say they were going to remaster them or do anything like that, just re-release them in the state that they released in originally, and I don't know if that means working multiplayer. But yeah, also, I just want to say, don't listen to the YouTuber Random Black Gamer. His video on this subject really pissed me off, because he mentioned something along the lines of like a remaster collection, which it's like nothing in the Q&A mentioned a remaster collection, and he even referenced the Q&A in his video, put it up on screen, and like didn't even read all of the information on it. So his video I'm calling bullshit on. But yeah, there was also a question about how the state of the games impacted the creation of the Gamer Edition line. And what they basically said is that they had to load up the games on older platforms because there were some decos that they didn't have, despite having the CAD files, but those were not colored, so they had to find the details of the characters within the game, which is pretty smart, honestly. This led to a question about what game assets they have, and they basically said that they have everything for Fall of Cybertron, but War for Cybertron, they had to rip it themselves. And this is because they couldn't find those assets and kept getting sent concept art that they didn't want, and because they needed the CAD files. So they turned on a computer and ripped the assets out themselves. And I say good on them for basing their figures not on concept art, because that would have just made them a lot less accurate to how the final designs were in the games. There were also some smaller questions, like if Activision and High Moon Studios were involved in the creation of Gamer Edition, and if they'd consider comic book publishers as studios. Now, I kind of feel like that question about Activision and High Moon Studios being involved is a bit stupid to ask, because as they answered, they'd have to license Transformers from Hasbro, so that Activision, Activision has to license Transformers from Hasbro. So Hasbro has the rights to make the products from the designs. All Activision and High Moon did was make the games. That's it. In regards to the comic book thing, I really don't see the need for comic book characters to come into Studio Series, as Legacy Evolution is already giving us comic book universe characters. Thus, why would or should Studio Series retread the same ground, since they'd probably just reuse and also re-release the same characters and molds that Legacy Evolution has already done? There was a minor question about video game crossovers with Transformers, and I kind of thought it was interesting that they mentioned the possibility of doing one with Warframe, because in Warframe they have Prime Warframes. I mean, as somebody who used to play Warframe, I would say that it would be cool, but I know that the Warframe developers would just make a Transformers-themed Warframe something only attainable through microtransactions, and I would not be for that at all. And also, not something that would make me return to Warframe. From there, it was a one-on-one segment that had a lot of really, in my mind, stupid questions that boiled down to will this or that character ever get a figure, with the answer typically being anything is possible. The other thing I found interesting out of the one-on-one questions was the first question about what Gamer Edition figure they'd like to do the most, and their answer was like a Titan class Trypticon or Fall of Cybertron and Combaticons, and I am all for both of those. I believe it was the third-party company Planet X that did a really big War for Cybertron inspired Trypticon, and that one looks cool, but it just costs way too much. I would also absolutely love a much better Fall of Cybertron Bruticus, and I'm surprised Planet X hasn't gotten on that yet. Overall, there is a lot of interesting stuff that came out of this Q&A that is good, but I still stand by the fact that I really do not want Gamer Edition to become another excuse for Hasbro to do more G1 repaints and remolds, but that is going to bring the Transformers Talk segment to a close. Hello and welcome to the Movie and TV Talk segment. In this segment, I'm going to be talking about how the CW show, Legends of Tomorrow, could have been so much more than how it ended up. So let's get into it. I think that out of all the shows that make up the Arrowverse, Legends of Tomorrow is probably the one with the most interesting concept. Being able to travel throughout time and experience all the good and not so good moments of world history, even if they focus a little too much on American history specifically. Seasons 1 through 3 have a lot of good examples of potential that Legends could have had. My favorite example is the 4th episode of Season 2 titled Abominations, wherein the Legends go back to the Civil War and they encounter Confederate soldiers getting turned into zombies from a mysterious T-virus. And yes, that is a Resident Evil reference, but the most impactful aspect of the episode comes from Jax having to witness both second and first-hand just how poorly African Americans were treated by white people during this time period, and the message presented in the episode is something that really resonates with the audience and makes that big standout episode in the entire run of the show. Another good example that comes to mind is the 8th episode of Season 1 titled Night of the Hawk. I don't remember what the main point of the episode was exactly, but it took place in the 1950s, and part of it involved Sarah liberating a nurse in a hospital who is into women. And again, it's an episode that with the kind of message that really makes it stand out. The problem is that the show starts to show its decline as the 3rd season progresses, and then we hit the wall that is Season 4. And I cannot tell you how many times during the 4th season that I question why I'm still watching this show, because it sucks so much. Nothing is serious anymore. Everything is played for really bad jokes. Suddenly the show is about magical creatures causing issues throughout history, and because they needed a reason for Constantine to fully join the Legends, I think I like Constantine when he would cameo in episodes, and yeah, I wanted him to stick around, but not like this. There's even a story thread where Nate's dad was secretly taking the captured magical creatures somewhere else. And they set up this whole mystery, and the payoff is that his dad wanted to train them for a theme park that Nate made a drawing of when he was a kid. Yeah, that was the entire payoff to that story thread. A really not funny joke, and they run with it. Now, this is about as far as I'm going to talk about Season 4 because I'm still in it. And I've heard that the show just continues to get worse from here, and I'm not looking forward to it. The point is that Legends, it has so much potential. It had so much potential to remain good and thought-provoking with little bits of comedy spread throughout. Kind of like how Seasons 1 through 3 are, but they just had to ruin the show before the show's potential could even be realized, and that is really sad. Really, really sad. But I'm gonna end the movie and TV talk segment right there. Hello, and welcome to the gaming talk segment. In this segment, I'm going to be finally and fully giving my thoughts on the game Warframe. Let's get into it. This game is just something else. I have tried what feels like forever, more and more, to get myself to like this game. And despite my efforts, the game seems to want to make me like it less and less every time I play it. Now, in the past, I know that I've made comparisons between Warframe and Destiny 2, but this time I'm going to try to minimize the amount of comparisons I make between the two and just focus on Warframe. Now, if I had to pick one word that really summarizes my experience in Warframe, And also, as the word also applies to my experience in Destiny 2, and that is the word of repetitive. Everything in Warframe just feels so repetitive, and I'm not a fan of it. There's a decent amount of planets that you can go to in the game, and there's potential. There really is. For thrilling exploration and missions. But they didn't do any of that. Every planet has at least one sabotage mission, assassination mission, defense mission, mobile defense mission, survival missions, and so on and so forth. And the only difference with the missions on each planet is the difficulty level of the enemy. And that's saying something when this game only has like 3 kinds of enemies for the entire game. Even with as many planets as they have in the game. You cannot possibly sit there and tell me that the developers of Warframe could not come up with any more interesting enemies than the 3 that they already have in there. But what could be worse than this game being overly repetitive with a lack of enemy variety? Well, another thing that absolutely bugs me with Warframe is that when it comes to the missions, that most of them can be completed solo with relative ease, but then there are some missions, mostly the boss fight ones, that you basically are required to play with other people because they are just that stupid hard to complete, and that's not a mission dynamic that I enjoy in a game. Now, if you're someone who is lucky enough to have friends that play Warframe, this isn't going to be a problem for you. But if you are like me and are the kind of person that doesn't have Warframe friends, this puts you at the mercy of having to set your game to public and hoping that randoms will be there for you and just having to deal with randoms to begin with. Look, I have played around 1,300 hours of the MMORPG game, The Elder Scrolls Online. And I can tell you, with experience from that game, that 98% of the time you are doing anything with randoms, it is going to be a bad time. And that is why in that game I joined guilds, because, it's so much better. Before you say this, though, no, the solution isn't get some friends to play Warframe, okay? That's not it. The game gives all players the option to play the game solo, and so in my opinion, given that option to do so, the content of the game should reflect in both solo and multiplayer. This means that I shouldn't get stuck on assassination boss fight missions because I basically have to have other players just to be able to complete those missions, and that I should be able to do boss fight missions on my own if I want to, and that fight should scale to me being a solo player. I really don't think that is all too much to ask for, and it would be a lot better than basically being subjugated to using random players. After that, there's the problem of the Archwing. Now, I'm not exactly sure what this piece of equipment is yet, outside of some sort of equipment for my Warframe. The thing is that each planet you can go to has at least one mission that requires this piece of equipment, but I can't do those missions because I haven't finished building it, because I still have had to build the wings segment and then put everything together. The reason I had not built the wings segment is that there is a component that I need for the wings. I think they were called neurodes or something, and they seem to be a rare component only found on specific planets during specific missions. Now, how would one get these? Well, the game has this function called a research drone you can put on a planet, but the research drone has the requirement of you having to have done all of the missions on any planet that you want to put the drone on, and most planets for me have 1 or 2 missions not done. Plus, I've only got 1 planet unlocked where I really can get this rare component from, which, like I said, I still have a few missions left, so I can't place a research drone. That means that my only option would be to farm for this rare component, which is just stupid to already have to do. Ultimately, I don't really understand that if the Archwing is such a crucial piece of equipment, and one that is absolutely required. Why would I and should I have to spend a bunch of my time farming for one single component that I need to finish building the damn thing, especially when there are many missions that require me having it? It doesn't make a lick of sense to me, and I believe that this piece of equipment should have been like an unlock, or just attainable in a much easier way. Those are really my biggest problems with Warframe, that really just suck the joy out of playing the game, and because they do, I have elected to stop playing Warframe for the foreseeable future. I have tried my best to settle in and enjoy playing Warframe, but the more I play, I just get frustrated and upset when I do, and I cannot enjoy myself. Plus, do not even get me started on how long it takes to acquire weapons that are not the starting ones, or how long it takes to get a new freaking Warframe without going through microtransactions, because it takes a long time on both of those fronts. But like I said, I am done with Warframe and I'm moving on from it. And that's going to do it for the Gaming Talk segment. That is also going to bring the 13th BrettCast episode to an end. If you have any questions or comments related to this episode or any past ones, feel free to leave them in the comments section, and I may answer a question and or discuss a comment in a future episode. If you like this kind of content, feel free to subscribe. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.